Thank you, Sam. I do have to say, you're probably one of the best interviewers. And I've been on 175 podcasts.
Oh, well.
So you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really love it. It's a passion of mine. So this is just for fun.
I've been on some where I'm like, oh my God, it's the worst interview ever. So you're great. Let's say you're one of the best.
Awesome. Well, that is a huge compliment and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and as always on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy show. And today we have an incredible guest. Super excited about this. Something that's so needed right now, especially as we're just coming out of a lot of COVID lockdown across the United States. What does that mean for you, your family, and specifically your businesses? So today we're going to be talking to Michelle Seiler Tucker. And she is I'm going to probably screw this up, but important to know, she's a merger and acquisitions master intermediary. And then she also is a certified business analyst. So she really helps people understand their businesses, helps them understand how to either take them public and sell them, or maybe not take them public, but sell them in some way or another, or just keep it successful and not closing down. So she'll give us some of the statistics there as far as why that's important. But first, we want to hear your story and find out, well, what got you here. Obviously, we all have lives. We all have things outside of business. And that's really important because the people who listen to this show often are normal humans, with lives outside of business. And although business is a part of their life, as well as I do, the extrinsic factors of like relationships, family, deaths in family, all the other stuff that directly impacts whether or not a business becomes successful and stays successful. Even if you have a great concept and great business going, if your personal life falls to shreds, so does your business often. So where did you come from? How did you get to where you are now? And why are you so passionate about helping people keep and maintain sustainable businesses?
All right. So where did I come from? I was born in Long Beach, California. So born in Long Beach, California, basically raised in Texas. My family moved when I was young to Austin, Texas, and now I'm in New Orleans. So even as a little girl, I was always extremely interested in people and their stories. So I didn't play with dolls and toys and things like most little kids do, most little girls do. I would walk around with a notebook and I'd walk up to a stranger at the grocery store, at the bank, or wherever we happen to be. And I would always have a pen and paper and ask them 100 questions. And I was always so interested in them, what they do, how they do it, etc. My mom always thought I was going to be the next Barbara Walters. And so I was always interested in people. I was always curious as a kid. Plus, I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I never really grew up with entrepreneurs. I mean, my dad did own a business, but I didn't really come from a family of entrepreneurs. But I knew I wanted to create my own masterpiece. I knew I wanted to go out there and, be my own boss. Number one, I don't like being told what to do. That's probably my biggest pet peeve. Don't tell me what to do, and clients tell me what to do all the time. So, you can't really get away from that. But anyway, so I've owned many different businesses in many different verticals. I did work for a company called OSE, and Xerox recruited me away from OSE because I was beating them constantly. They would come in with a team of suits, all men in suits. And they would come in with donuts and coffee, and I would just come in, just me. And I would always crush it. I would always beat them. And they're like, oh, my gosh, who is this girl beating us constantly? So they ended up recruiting me, working around my non-compete. I was at Xerox for 6 months. And my nickname became the closer. So every time somebody couldn't close a deal, they're like, call Michelle. She can do it. She's a closer. She can close anything. And then within 6 months, my supervisor came to me and said, look, there's a regional vice president position open in Xerox, overseeing about 100 salespeople. She goes, it's going to be a 3-month interview process. You probably won't get it. You won't get it because Xerox's policy is you have to be here for 2 years before they promote within, and you'll be competing against, Xerox employees that have been here for years and years. And I'm like, well, why would I go through a 3-month grueling process if I'm not going to get it? I said, it sounds like a colossal waste of time. And she says, because of the experience, you'll learn so much during this process that, you can use these valuable lessons later on in your life. And I said, okay. So I went ahead and did it. And she's right. It was a 3-month grueling process. We had to meet with all the high-level executives, asking them, doing Q&As and demonstrations and presentations on Xerox equipment. So I did end up getting it. So I guess I truly am the closer because they broke their policy to promote me. And then once I got it, I realized how much I didn't like it because I like sales. I'm a people person. I like solving problems. I'm solution oriented. When you're in a management position high up in a corporate, a Fortune 500 company, you can't make decisions. You got to go to other people, and it's got, everybody's got to vote on it. Everybody's got to decide. There's so much bureaucracy and red tape, and that's what I didn't like. So I ended up deciding to leave Xerox and went into franchise sales, franchise consulting, franchise development. I was a partner with a few different franchisors as well. So I had equity in their franchise companies. And I was selling franchises, hundreds of franchises, and doing franchise development, franchise consulting, all of that. Plus, I was setting them up. And I found myself kept saying no. And I like to be a yes person because I think everything's about law of attraction. And so I kept saying no. And I'm like, why? I got to stop saying no. But buyers were asking for existing businesses, and I didn't have any existing businesses because we were only selling new franchises. So I said, this is ridiculous. Why don't I just set up an M&A firm? And that's basically what I did. So I set up my M&A firm, transitioned into selling existing businesses, small businesses at first, and, like restaurants and dry cleaners and things of that nature. And then very quickly transitioned into selling larger businesses, $10 million purchase price and up. And then I learned very quickly what Steve Forbes says is true, that 8 out of 10 businesses will not sell. 80% of businesses on the market will not sell. Those are really startling statistics facing baby boomers. It's 11 million, 11,000 baby boomers will want to retire every single day. So I said, gosh, if I don't fix them, if I don't grow them, if I don't put them on a build to sell program, they're going to go out of business and I'm going to starve to death because I won't have anything to sell. So that's when I really transitioned to fixing businesses, tweaking them, growing them, put them on a build to sell program. And so that's when I really started specializing in buying, selling, fixing, growing. I buy businesses and flip them. I partner with business owners, investing my money, time, energy, resources in which to help that business become successful and get them on a build to sell program. So we have to date, I've been in this industry a little over 20 years. We have to date sold over 1,000 businesses. I personally have sold 500. And we've done thousands of valuations. On average, I close 98% of all offers I write and obtain a 20 to 40% higher selling price from my clients. In some cases, the biggest percentage of over appraised value was 126%. So we create bidding wars. We probably have the largest buyer database in the industry. We have over 28,000 buyers. Wow. That's my story.
No, I think that's so cool. I want to dig into some of the stuff you first said, because I think this is so important as just a point of life. Doesn't matter where you're at in life, whether you're a business owner, just a parent, just whoever's listening to the podcast, maybe you're a multi-million-dollar business owner. But you said that you are always interested in people's stories. I'm curious, in the years that you've been doing this and just finding out about people, what have you found were some of the most exciting questions to ask? Like they got you the best responses, that actual helped you know the person, that's maybe not a question that people would think to ask, but is actually a very telling question about somebody. You
mean when I was a little girl or the questions I ask now?
Yeah, I would say both, right? to hear somebody's story.
Like, hey, how are you? My name's Michelle. What do you do? What's your name? How do you do it? But now, some of the questions, I'm like, for entrepreneurship, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm so excited to find out how somebody built a billion dollar company, with an 8th grade education and started in a garage or started in a pickup truck. And so, some of the questions I obviously ask is, how did you get started? And, in 8th grade education, how are you so successful when there are many people that are extremely educated, got MBAs that are not near as successful as you? What makes you different? Let's say you come from a family of 10 and, maybe a very poor family, or maybe there's some abuse or some neglect in your family. Why are you so successful when your siblings are not? What is it about you?
Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the questions we asked.
That's very interesting. Funny, because for those listening, Michelle doesn't know this. I don't know. Maybe she did a lot of research on me. Did you do a lot of research on me?
I would love to say yes, but no.
No, that's fine. The funny thing is, so you'll think this is funny. I'm actually the 7th of 11 kids. I did come from a big family. There was abuse. We were poor on government and church assistance. So it is funny. That being said, I would say, and I honestly, this is an interesting thing to say. And every time I say it, I don't know where this lands, because it's not meant to be an overly humilitous statement. And it's also not meant to be put myself down. But I honestly believe that many of my siblings either are or will have the potential to be more successful from a financial perspective than I do. Mm-hmm. Not, just because their talent base, if they apply their talent base, their ceiling is probably higher than mine. Which is fine. I'm fine with that. I work hard. That's about my gift is I'm really going to work my butt off. That's about all I know, because that's all I know as a gift of mine. And hugs. People.
I'm sure you have a lot more gifts than that.
I'm sure I do too. And I ask people, what do you think my gifts are? But I think it's just interesting. I think a lot of my gifts, if I think, well, where did Sam learn to do whatever he learned how to do? It really goes back to, I worked my butt off. It didn't come naturally. I worked my butt off for it. Yeah. And maybe it's my perspective that my family members didn't work as hard for their, what seem innate gifts now. That's a possibility. And I'm open to that as well, because that's a very real possibility. But I think those are huge questions to ask. Mm-hmm. What do you do? How do you do it? Why do you do it? What makes you different? If you just ask those four questions of everybody you met, how much would you learn about people? And more importantly, and this is where, if we're talking about business and sales knowledge, understanding what people do. So you have a wide basic knowledge of what people do, how they do it, why they do it, and what makes them different. That enables you to actually be a better closer, to actually help people make decisions faster that are going to benefit them in the long run. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's huge. I'm curious, when did you first decide, I know this might be a silly question, but when did you first become conscious that you really don't like being told what to do?
It's hard to know exactly when that was, but probably as a little girl. I didn't like being told what to do. and I don't remember the exact time, but,
So do you feel like it was fostered in your family that it was okay that you didn't like being told what to do, and there was a way to kind of allow you not to be told what to do, but still?
No, I used to get spanked. I used to get in a lot of trouble. I used to get the razor strap by my mom. So no, it was not fostered.
Okay, no, this is good though, because I just think, because I'm with you. I really have, I don't know if I would say authority problems, but I really don't like being told what to do. I really don't like being restricted. So for you who are listening to this, maybe that's a good indication there's something else out there for you. If you're working a job, if you're in a business, even if you're technically the owner of the business, but your customers are still the ones telling you what to do, and you don't know how to regain control over your business or your employees. I mean, cancel culture right now is one of the craziest things I've ever seen, where a few employees can go write a news article and make a big stink and fire the CEO because of something they said decades ago, like it's crazy.
That is crazy.
What's going on in the world. And so if you're somebody who doesn't like being told what to do, maybe that's an indication that it's a business wouldn't be a bad idea, something that you are in control over. So just think about that. Do you ever think to yourself, I really don't like being told what to do? And then the follow-up question to that is, what are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that's huge. So for you, again, these are all questions for the audience, but also for you. What do you think, other than your ability to close, because that was huge, but why do you think you were recruitable? Like when Xerox came and recruited you, what about you was it specifically that they wanted on their team? Or did they just want to take you out of the competition?
Well, the biggest thing is they had a hard time beating me. I think that was the biggest thing. And, it's like I don't think they really knew what it was about me in the beginning. They just kept asking, well, why should you keep beating us? They had no idea why. One of the men in suits actually went to college with my husband. So he's like, oh, she's married to a fraternity brother. And he started asking my husband, well, tell me about her. Why is she so good? What did she do? Why is she beating us? And my husband goes, I don't know. Call her up, interview her, get her in. And that's kind of how that transpired. But I think, Xerox just really wants good salespeople. They want somebody who can close. They want somebody who has good follow-up, good attention to detail, somebody that's great rapport with the clients. Just really the kind of things you look for in salespeople, right?
Absolutely. So along that lines, because again, I'm trying to balance this between just everyday people and their lives, because I think there's a personal aspect of this, and then the business aspect. So on the personal side of this question, I think that you who are listening should ask yourself, what is your edge that makes you recruitable? And not from a negative standpoint. I hear that all the time, like, well, why are you a sucker? But it's not that. The question is, why is somebody seeking after you specifically? Why does somebody want Sam to be the person helping them versus the next guy? So that's the one question I
think for me, it's because I had such a high closing rate and they couldn't beat me. And no matter what they tried, they never won against me. So for me, they just want to eliminate me from the competition and find out, how do I do what I do?
Yeah, which I think
what's my secret sauce,
Which I think is the business side, because you're now coaching businesses, you're in mergers and acquisitions. How important is it for a business who wants to become successful to let down their ego, stop worrying about everybody, and just actually go interview their competition? Allow some space so they can find out, if this person's consistently beating us, where are we screwing up? Like, where do we need to improve? If somebody else is always beating us, why not go ask the competition? Most of the time, in my experience, again, I probably have less experience. I know I have less experience in this realm than you do, but most people who are successful they have a successful mindset that there's more than enough for everybody, and they're totally happy, willing to share what they can. Obviously, if there's like non-disclosure and stuff, they can't, but they're happy to share what's helping them become successful because there's enough people out there for everybody. Yeah. And so how important is that aspect and that mindset to be willing to go and look at other companies' success and say, okay, what are they doing right? Maybe you don't like everything they do, but what are they doing right?
I think it's very important to research your competitors. If they are open to discussing and having a conversation, that's great. I think it really depends upon the industry. You have to really look at the industry and see how open your competitor is, but you can get a lot from just researching somebody too. And then if there's a way to get to their clients and find out from their clients why they like doing business with them, why did they choose them maybe over you? So if you can research the competition, but also get in touch with the clients. Now, I know that's much harder to do. The other thing too is I always say, don't stay in your same industry. There are so many lessons to be learned from other flagship industries, other flagship businesses like Disney. You can learn so many valuable lessons from Disney. Same thing with the Ritz-Carlton. It doesn't have to be industry specific. Sometimes the problem with just researching your own industry or just talking to your own industry is now you're doing things the way everybody else does it. You want to really disrupt the industry. You really want to do something unique, like Steve Jobs did when he came back to Apple with the iPhone and the iPods and the iPads and everything else. You want to disrupt. You don't want to be like everybody else. So yes, you can talk to them. Yes, you can, try to get to their clients and find out why their clients like them. But more importantly, learn from other flagship companies because there's so many valuable lessons that you can take and implement what they do into your own company.
Yeah, I think that's huge. In our when I speak on stage, I speak with a group that's called Nextgen Coaching, and it's really that whole philosophy put into a branding perspective of how do you take separate things from different industries or different areas of life and create something that's never been done before and never been seen before, and create that kind of next gen branding. I love that. When it comes to looking at the different industries, I've done that in my business, and it's helped me a ton. I was just on a call with one client today. She does spray tanning, and so we're like, do we try and recreate some Excel spreadsheet to track inventory because she orders bulk inventory, then creates it in a smaller inventory and then sells it? Or like, there's got to be some system out there that already does this, right? We don't need to recreate the wheel. We need to go look at a system, whether it's in the cosmetology industry or somewhere else, that it's easy enough that we can throw what we need on top of it and get our job done of tracking it without having to go recreate the system.
Right.
So huge principle. So what is when you went through this interview process with Xerox to become the position that you ultimately didn't like, right? But from an experience perspective, what is the value of great experience? Because there's so many people who are chasing just a dollar amount. They're just looking, hey, I just want the biggest dollar. And they forget to look at like, what's the actual value exchange? What's the value of the experience? Who am I going to be surrounded with? And really focus in on what are they going to gain, not just monetarily, but the extrinsic X factors of their gaining. So how would you put a value on experience, especially as you're looking at companies? You're not just buying a company, you're buying the team that's going to implement, right? And so how do you gauge whether or not that experience is really there or deficient?
So I think experience is everything. I mean, do you want me to tell you the experience I learned from that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, I learned, number one, that business owners should never promote their top salesperson who they nickname the closer. Because if you have a closer in your company, you want to keep that closer, right? And Xerox sales, when I got promoted up, they didn't do as good when I got promoted up. They didn't close as many deals, and they couldn't just call me in and say, oh, get the closer back in, because I was traveling so much. So what I learned from the experience of the interview was, really how to get comfortable in my own skin, fake it till you make it, basically. Believe that you belong. Like Tony Robbins is like, own it, because I was meeting with such high level executives, and I was young and new in Xerox. I didn't know everything about Xerox, but I remember, buying brand new suits, brand new dresses, brand new suits, even buying a Mont Blanc pen so I would look and feel more successful and things like that. And then I'm so good at asking questions. So I just put together a really good list of questions to ask them, because they were like the client. So they were the client and they were pretending to be the client, really. Now they, of course, asked me a bunch of questions on the other side of that, but I just put together really good questions to get to their hot buttons, to get to their sweet spot, what they're looking for, what their wants and needs are. And then really tying the features, advantages, and benefits, and then demonstrating the equipment. I mean, I had all my stuff down. I think for me, what I really learned is, be prepared, overly prepared, over prepare. I speak on stage, you speak on stage. You have to over prepare. So many people just get up there and try to wing it. So I learned to over prepare, don't wing it. I also learned to say, you know what? Just because I said I'll never get it, I'm not going to buy into that. You don't control. I'm not buying into your narrative. Mm-hmm. You're not writing my story. I'm writing my story. I'm the producer of my movie, not you.
Mm-hmm.
So I just learned to control my own narrative and not listen to their narrative. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those 3 points I think are probably the biggest. It doesn't matter what area of your life from family, parenting. I mean, I've got 2 little boys, a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I have no idea how to parent at all. I'm just grateful that my parents kept me alive long enough to become a dad. And now I'm like, I don't know how you did it, right? Like,
that's a great point. They kept you alive long enough to be a parent.
I'm just so grateful because, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get my kid to listen to you. Like, spanking works a little bit, but then until they're like, well, how much worse can it get? You can't and then once they realize that it can't get any worse than what's already happening without causing actual bodily harm, then they're like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care. You can beat me. And I was the same way. That's the thing. I was the same way. So it's just.
You must have 2 boys.
Yes, 2 boys. But
have a girl. I'm not beating her.
Yeah, no. I don't know. And beating is probably
girl.
a harsh word. It's not beating. It's
I know.
Swat on the butt. But I think it's so important to one, don't promote your best closer. That doesn't mean you don't give them benefits, but don't
give them benefits, but you don't necessarily move them into management because what makes a great salesperson doesn't necessarily make a great manager.
Absolutely. And I think that's a note I made is that managers, I'm going to finish this list here and then we're going to go up to that because I have a question about that in your businesses that you've seen, but don't promote your best closer. Give them benefits, but don't necessarily promote them or move them from that position. Over prepare, and then obviously ask the right questions so treat everybody as a client and write your own story. So those are kind of the main takeaways from that. I love that. When it comes to managers, because again, you're looking at mergers, acquisitions, you're going and looking at a company, whether it can sell or not. What's the difference between, from my perspective, managers often are not the deciders, they're the implementers. They're the people who are meant to implement what was decided at a higher level most of the time. Now, this is where the contrast comes in. How does that, where managers are meant to just implement, at what level do you also want decentralized leadership where, if you're the CEO or you are the person in charge, you don't actually want to be on the phone all day making every little decision? So how do you determine who gets to make what size of decisions? I think, it depends upon the size of the company. It depends upon how many teams. It depends upon the size of the team, how long the manager's been there, what kind of leadership experience they have, what kind of decision experience they have. But here's the bottom line. I don't think any manager should just be implementers. I think everybody should be problem solvers. And I tell my team, don't come to me with a problem, come to me with a solution. You walk in my office, you give me three solutions to what you perceive the problem to be. You start with the solutions and then you tell me what the problem is afterwards. So I think you really have to empower people. You have to empower managers. You have to empower your employees. You have to empower your team to make decisions. You can't just say, oh, well, you manage, but you don't make the decisions. They got to be able to make decisions. They have to. You're never going to be able to build a sustainable, scalable business with you making all the decisions, because now you're involved in every single aspect. You got to, this is the first P that we talk about in the 6 Ps in my book, Exit Rich, is people. The most important thing in a business is people. And you got to have the right people in the right seats. And you got to ask the who question, who handles accounting, who handles customer service, who handles legal, who handles manufacturing, who handles logistics, environmental, etc. The key here is you should never be next to the who. So you have to get those team leaders, those employees and those team leaders to have the core competencies, to have the confidence level, and empower them to make the decisions. And sometimes they're going to make wrong decisions, and that's okay. That's okay. People learn by making wrong decisions sometimes. That's okay. You can't beat them because they made a wrong decision, right? But you got to empower people to make a decision. They can't just manage and not be able to make decisions. Does that make sense? No, it does. And I that's why I wanted your perspective, because your position, not just from your book perspective, but like your actual job, what you do is to come into a company and say, okay, why is this thing not able to be sold? And how do we get it there? So,
when the owner is doing everything and making all the decisions, that's when the company is not sellable.
Okay. So what about scalable, right? At what level?
Not scalable either.
so at what level does the owner /owners start to say, you know what? I'm not making this decision. That's somebody else's job. I don't really care. Not that I don't care what the outcome is. Obviously, I want a good outcome, but I'm willing to deal with the fact that we might fail once or twice before we find what we actually want to move forward with.
Yeah, and it's not so much failing, right? You don't want to look at it as failing. But here's the deal. It's really depends upon the owner when they're ready to, have somebody accountable for making decisions. But here's the bottom line. You will never grow your company. You will never grow unless you let go of control. So you got to empower your people to make choices. Entrepreneurs need to focus on their strengths, hide their weaknesses. Now, that doesn't mean you say, okay, you're in charge of marketing, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that, and then you never look at it again. You have to inspect what you expect. You have to trust but verify. Mm-hmm. So you just don't give them carte blanche and say, hey, do whatever you want. I don't care. You can't do that. So eventually, as you grow and to become a sustainable, scalable business, you're going to have a COO over the whole company. And then you have different department heads that report to that COO, and then the COO reports to you. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Being small where you're doing everything yourself and making all the decisions, that's where it's hard. When you can get to the level where you have a COO and you have department heads, you're not having to deal with each person's problem. You're not having to deal with each. Do they make the right decisions or do they not make the right decision? That's the CEO's job, mm-hmm. right? Yeah. That's where it gets much easier. Mm-hmm. That's where you want to get to.
That's what I need to do in my own business is get to that point. So one last thing here before I move on, and that is, why are you still working? Like if and I ask that respectfully, right? If you're successful, there's got to be a point at which you could have sold your company, you could have exited and be done, right?
I have so many of my companies. I own multiple companies in different verticals. Right. So I have so many companies. Yes.
So why are you still going at it? Why not go?
Because I love it. I love it. I think to retire is to expire. So for me, my husband, we have this argument all the time. He's like, oh, let's retire. You got to retire in 5 years. I'm like, you might want to retire. That doesn't mean I'm going to retire. And so, I think I will always do something because look, you're either growing or dying, right? And for me, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. The money is great, but more importantly to me is saving small businesses, saving businesses from going out of business and improving that 80% statistic of businesses that don't sell. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I live for, really, And so I don't feel the need to retire. I'd be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if I retire? I'll be bored out of my mind. I might go from working, 10 hours a day to maybe working 7 hours a day or 6 hours a day. And I do all multiple different companies that I actually build to sell. So I think, I'll retire when I stop having fun.
Yeah, I think that is the key, and that's what I wanted you to share. That's the energy that I'm getting from you. But so many people, they actually are still looking towards retirement. Even business owners are looking towards retirement, and I think that...
And they should. And here's the reason why. Businesses go through a cycle, just like humans do. You go from the incubator to a newborn. From a newborn to a toddler, from a toddler to a teenager, and to a young adult into an adult, then to senior citizen, then death. A business follows the cycle as a human. The best time to sell your business is when you're in your prime, when you're in your adult phase, okay? When your business is doing well. This is when most business owners mess up because they're like, oh no, my business is doing so well, I'm going to keep it. No, sell it. Find something else that you're passionate about. You follow me? Sell it. And sell it when it's up because that might be the best offer you ever get. And then there's a pandemic and boom, your industry is gone.
Yeah, I think that's the key though, is you're still loving what you're doing and finding the deeper reason. If you own a yogurt shop, what you love doing as an owner, owning yogurt shops, those you can sell, but you are passionate about helping businesses and actually engaging with people.
Right.
And so you aren't working anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong here. You're just playing, right? The world's your playground. Business is your playground. Yeah. Just like some people like to go to the strip club. Other people like to go drink.
Strip club.
I don't know.
They have those in Utah?
Not in Utah. Well, I don't know, actually. I have no idea.
They have them in Bourbon Street in New Orleans, where I live.
I've never actually been to one, so I have no idea. Point is, though, everybody likes a different place to play. And some people like to play. Their playground is the business world. Yeah. And then people think, well, why don't they just retire? The way she answered it is exactly why you don't just retire, because she's having fun. Like, this is her. There's no stress. It's not like, I mean, not no stress, right? Everything.
There's stress.
Level of stress. But it's a fun, enjoyable experience. Even with all the stress, it's an enjoyable thing. And once it stops being fun, then she can retire. And probably even retiring at that point doesn't look like sitting at home watching TV or something. It looks like finding another passion. And so if you think about retirement as finding another passion, I think that's an interesting way to look at it that I've never really considered until right now. So I'm grateful for this conversation.
Thank you.
So one other thing that we want to touch on, and this I think is maybe going to the infancy stage of a business, but you noticed that you were saying no a lot. Mm-hmm. And then you asked yourself a key question, that is, how can I say yes, right? Why am I saying no? And everyone in our lot, everyone that I know, we all have these experiences where we're saying no to something, someone, some opportunity. And often I think what we're saying no to, that might be the gift that other people see in us that we don't yet see in ourselves. That one skill that other people recognize, this person's good at this. And that's why I'm asking them, because they have credibility in my eyes, but because that person doesn't yet recognize that they have that credibility, then they're saying no rather than finding a way to say yes. And so if you are saying no to something in your life, maybe just ask yourself, is that a hidden talent or hidden gift that I wasn't aware of? And how can I say yes to that more? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just such a small kind of thought process shift that might transform your life. I don't know.
Yeah, because, a lot of times consumers, clients will ask, well, why don't you do this in your business? Why don't you do this? Well, for healthcare, we sell a lot of chiropractic businesses, and clients might say, well, why don't you have an MD? Or why don't you take major medical? Or why do you just take cash? And instead of saying, no, I don't take cash, or no, I don't take cash, or no, we don't have MD, explore that. And look at that, because, that brings me to my 3 transformational questions that every business should ask themselves. But you really should explore that and say, why am I saying no? Why don't I sell businesses? Why don't I, have a major medical department set up? Why am I not doing that? Maybe I should be doing that, because it will open up more congruent revenue streams, right? Mm-hmm. So you really should look at that fact too, because it's like the second P and the 6 Ps that we teach in Exit Rich is product. This is your industry. This is your service. And we always ask, is your product, your industry, your service on the way up or on the way out? Is it dying or is it thriving? Do you have an Amazon or do you have a Blockbuster? And unfortunately, a lot of industries right now are a Blockbuster because of the pandemic. But that doesn't mean if your industry is dying that you just go home and curl up into a fetal position and give up. That means you ask yourself these 3 transformational questions. Amazon did this back in the 90s. Amazon asked themselves, what business are we in? And they said, we're in the book selling business. We sell books. And then they asked themselves, and everyone listening should be doing this right now. And then they asked themselves, well, what do we do really well, better than anybody else? And they said, we do fulfillment better than anybody else. And the next logical, most important question is, what business should we be in? What should we pivot to? And Amazon said, ding, 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 we should be in a fulfillment business. We should be fulfilling products for everybody, not just for books. Those 3 transformational questions also align with the yes, but that transformed Amazon into the worldwide multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that they are today.
I love that. That is so concise and easy to ask. It's just like a really simple.
Well, it's easy to ask, but hard to answer. And let me explain why. Entrepreneurs get stuck. They get stuck in transactional. These are transformational. They get stuck in the daily task, transactional, doing, keeping up on that treadmill, trying to keep their business going, trying to get sales coming in, trying to get vendors paid, people paid. They're not working on their business. They're working in their business. And when you're working in your business and you're in the daily chaos, it gets foggy. And when it's foggy, when you're in your fog, it's foggy, right? So they don't really think transformational. So sometimes they will need to align with an expert to help them see what they're not seeing clearly. Because sometimes something can be right in front of you and you don't see it. Mm-hmm. Because you're not in the right mindset to accept it. Also, they say when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yep. Yeah, but both absolutely true statements. So I'm going to say those questions again so that anybody who's listening, if you want to write them down, you can pause this and write them down. Number one is, what business are you in? Like, what is the actual business you're in? Number two, what do you do better than anyone else? And then number three, what business should you be in? I really do believe that if you ask yourself those three questions, I've talked about it in a different sense when I'm talking about it, right? It's so funny because we all have our own way of sharing the same information or similar information. Although this, I think, is every new way helps you look at the same information differently and spurs different thoughts. So for me, I would say, if you are the CEO of your own life, and whether home, business, whatever it is, one, how are you going to negotiate differently your pay, everything in your life? How do you negotiate everything differently if you think of your life as the CEO and you have shareholders, right? Your family, your friends, the people around you, they're shareholders in your existence. And so how are you being a responsible person there? But then also, why are you actually getting paid? Because most people and I asked her this question slightly differently, but why are you recruitable? Most people are not getting paid to do what they're doing. They're getting paid for who they are. They're not getting paid for the task that they're implementing, the task that they're fulfilling. They're getting paid for what's in between their ears and their personality and how they're interacting. And the sooner you recognize why you're actually being paid, why did they hire you instead of the next person? That's when you get your niche and you say, oh, I can change the world because that's what I'm actually getting paid for. I'm not getting paid to be an accountant. I'm getting paid because of the resources in my head or the way I interact with clients, the dum-dums on the bank, right? Or the cookie that's in the middle of not in the middle, but like when you check into your hotel, they give you a cookie or they put a little animal on your bed. That's why people choose those hotels over the other hotel that doesn't do that, right? It's not because the blankets are soft or the beds are whatever. It's because these little things that are separating them. So why are you getting paid rather than the next guy? And once you recognize that, that's when I believe you become unemployable, because you can then become a business owner with that skill and really launch yourself. Now, the next step is what we're going to talk about next. And that is, how do you build a business that's built to sell so you can exit rich? So let's talk about your book a little bit more, and who's the ideal person to read that? Obviously, anybody can benefit from it, right?
Yeah. One thing I want to say about what you just said was what you're referring to as, what is your USP? What is your unique selling proposition, right? Mm-hmm. What makes you different? What's unique about you? Yep. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's good. So what's your book specifically about, and who is like the ideal person who needs to go order this on Amazon today as soon as we're done with the call?
Well, I would not order on Amazon. I would not order. I love Amazon. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Probably almost everything in my house is on Amazon. But I would go to exitrichbook.com, not Amazon. And there's many reasons why, because we are in the middle of pre-sales. The book comes out in June. And if you order early, we have lots of extra bonuses for you. You won't get those if you order on Amazon. Plus, we will email you the digital download immediately, so you don't have to wait till June. Plus, we'll ship the hardcover to your doorstep. Plus. So when you're ready for me to tell everybody how to get the book, I'll give them all their bonuses.
Let's do that right now. Let's.
Oh, you want to do that right now?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's talk about this. How do they get this? Because this is really the thing that
Yeah,
is separating you from everybody else, right? You're going to
absolutely. This is my USP.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you a little bit about the book. So this is my third book I've written. Sharon Lechter is my co-author. Sharon Lechter wrote Rich Dad Poor Dad with Robert Kiyosaki. She is a 5-time New York Times bestselling author. We're hoping to make her a 6 times bestselling author with Exit Rich. So everybody go buy the book, please. And she is a CPA, a financial literacy expert, and the advisor to many different presidents. She writes the Mentor's Corner at the end of each chapter. Steve Forbes has endorsed Exit Rich, saying this is a gold mine for every single entrepreneur because entrepreneurs leave too much money on the table when they go to sell their business. Kevin Harrington, the original Shark on Shark Tank, says that Exit Rich is the best blueprint ever for selling your business, and he wrote the foreword. Plus, we have Les Brown and Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins and Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen and Brad Sugars, who owns Action Coach. So we have lots and lots of testimonials. Who is the book for? The book is for anyone who owns a business, anyone who wants to start a business, anyone. You can even own it if you want. You can even read Exit Rich if you want to buy a business because it teaches you what to look for. So it's really for any entrepreneur, anyone who owns a business, anyone who wants to start a business. And what is in it? So number one is it's really A to Z. It's not just about selling a business. Exit Rich is all about building a sellable asset. It's all about building a business that's actually sellable because the reason why 80% of businesses don't sell is because number one, a business owner never thinks about selling. So they never plan their exit strategy until a catastrophic event has occurred, whether that's internal or external, death, partners dispute, divorce, etc. The pandemic. The worst time to sell your business is during a catastrophic event because the business is going down. You need to sell it when you're in your prime, when you're in your adult phase, when it's in its prime. So Exit Rich is all about planning your exit strategy from day one of buying or starting a business. It walks you through the 5 different steps. It's all about the seller's mindset, the seller's sanity check. When should you sell your business? Help you prioritize what's important to you because sometimes owners are like money, but a lot of times it's not. It's not always about just the price. It's about making sure somebody takes care of your employees who are your family, making sure that they take care of your clients, making sure that they grow your legacy. So it walks you through that. It walks you through the 5 different types of buyers and what their negotiating and non-negotiables are. Negotiating points, non-negotiables. It walks you through each one of the 6 Ps. I'll talk to you about 2 today, but it walks you through how to build a solid infrastructure on each one of the 6 Ps. Teaches you about valuations, about how financials, how to clean your financial house and really know your numbers. Teaches you about the mistakes that business owners make and how to avoid the pitfalls. Teaches you about negotiations, how to do LOIs, how to market your business. And really, you should never market your own business, but how to find an advisor, what questions to ask, etc. So it's really everything from building a sustainable, scalable business and when you're ready, sellable. So you do have a sellable asset when you're ready. So they can go to exitrichbook.com for $24.79. By the way, it's cheaper than Amazon. So exitrichbook.com, $24.79. We will email you the digital download immediately. Then we'll ship the hardcover to your doorstep for anybody that lives in the United States. Outside the United States, it's extra shipping, of course. And then we will give you a lifetime membership into the Exit Rich Book Club. That's where I do video training of different techniques and strategies and things I've developed over my 20 years in the trenches. Plus, there's documents to operate your business, documents to sell your business. Sample employee handbook, sample organizational charts, non-competes, policy and procedure manuals, sample letter of intent, sample purchase agreements to sell your business, sample due diligence checklist, sample closing docs. These are all worth over $30,000 if you went to an attorney to try to recreate. And you can review and download to use the templates. Plus, we will give you a 30-day free membership into Club CEOs, which is a mastermind, an entrepreneur mastermind, where we help business owners ask these transformational questions so you really can grow your business and scale so you do have a sellable asset. All of that for $24.79.
Yeah, that's a steal. I've paid a lot more for a lot less. So,
Me too. Me too.
we,
Especially if you're in a speaking circuit, you buy everybody else's stuff.
yep, absolutely. So no, that's awesome. I will be a customer probably by the end of the day because I
Thank
think
you.
that one, I need to figure this out for myself. I'm taking my business. I'm hitting a mile marker here, and it's now time to start fleshing out some of the internal things. And so I don't know where to start. So I'm going to go find out where to start. It would be good. And then, so I'm just super excited for this. If you guys didn't get that, go ahead and share again, just so I'm right. It's exitrichbook.com.
Correct.
Okay. Exitrichbook.com. Go to that website and you'll be able to see all of that. I'm sure it's listed out in there. If you're going to Google her, make sure you have the name Seiler Tucker is the one to Google. Okay. Don't Google anything else. Just Seiler Tucker, right?
Michelle Seiler Tucker. Michelle Seiler Tucker.
Okay. Michelle Seiler Tucker. No, yeah, don't do anything else. Just Michelle Seiler Tucker. Okay. And we're not even going to say the other thing not to do because it's not worth the confusion.
And then my website is seilertucker.com. Okay. My main website. And then everybody can also text Michelle to 888-526-5750. All of my websites pop up. My social media pops up. And follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Are you on Clubhouse yet?
I'm not on Clubhouse because I'm so busy, and that's no excuse. But Sharon Lecter and I are actually going to start a Clubhouse.
Yeah, I know Sharon's on there. She's on there pretty often.
Yeah, she's there a lot.
In different rooms. Well, when you get on, I'd love to have a conversation with you on there as well.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah, we run some regular meetings there, so I think it'd be a great fit to have you in and just kind of discuss some things there. So here's the legacy on rapid fire, just 5 questions, 1 word to 1 sentence answers. So don't be too stressed about it. Just very, very simple.
Do I look stressed?
No, you look so stressed. Yeah, so stressed. No, not at all. But so what do you think is holding you back from reaching the next level of your legacy today?
I think what holds me back is what holds everybody back. Getting the right people. Getting the right people is always the biggest challenge. Getting the right integrator to integrate, all the ideas and visions from the entrepreneur's head, into the teams. I think that's always the biggest challenges. And it's not necessarily always the right people on your team or, right employees. It could be the right marketing company. It could be the right, right marketing company, the right lender, the right this or the right that. I think that's, always a challenge for most people, including us sometimes.
Yep, absolutely. And what's the hardest thing you've ever accomplished?
It's been so many hard things. I had a very difficult childhood. I would say probably getting over my childhood.
Okay, awesome. I love it. And what's your greatest accomplishment to this point in your life?
I would say raising my 10-year-old beautiful daughter, Arabella Ashiana Tucker. And writing 3 books and earning 7-figure checks, selling companies and.
Yeah, lots of good things. I love that it starts with family, though. I know that for me, if my kids make it to adulthood, that will absolutely be, I shouldn't say if, when my kids make it to adulthood.
Why did you say if? That's law of attraction.
I know. When they make it, that will be my greatest accomplishment. That's funny. What would you say is like a secret habit, mindset, or behavior that you have adopted into your life that we could also adopt into our life that would contribute the most to your success?
I would say number one, I start off my day with gratitude. I start off my day with all the things that I'm grateful for. I do ask for the things I feel like I need the most help in. I ask for guidance on that. I do start my day at 4:45 a.m. every day. I work out for an hour before. So it's gratitude first, and I work out. And I drive my daughter to school, and it's positive affirmation. So I teach her to say all these positive affirmations before she goes into the classroom.
That's so incredible. And what is one book that you'd recommend to the Fuel Your Legacy audience?
Exit Rich.
Good. I love it. So many people don't even recommend their own book. I'm like, why?
Oh my gosh.
They're on here talking about their book, and then they're like, go read Think and Grow Rich. I'm like, why'd you write a book if you're going to tell everybody to go read Think and Grow Rich?
No, everybody needs to write everybody has to read Exit Rich. Everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer that if you don't own a business of some sort going through this next inflationary cycle in our country, there's a very small chance you're going to make it to the other side financially stable and be able to live your dream.
Or can I offer another thought?
Yeah, go for it.
Or if you don't own your own business, but you're really a great contributor, you're a great employee, a great contributor to, the CEO, there's room to give great contributors equity in the company. I've done it. I do it. So just because you're an employee doesn't mean that you can't have equity at some point. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Get some form of ownership beyond the hourly wage for sure, or salaried even. Salary is worse than hourly in a lot of cases because then they own your time.
Right.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, here's the final question, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this. But if you were to die, right, and we're now 6 generations from now, what do you want your great grandchildren to be saying about the impact you had and the legacy you left 6 generations from now?
Well, I have one daughter, so hopefully she's going to have kids because otherwise it could be limited. But I would want her to say that, my mom is a true inspiration. My mom really cared about other people. My mom, gave and really helped business owners who were struggling become successful. She, really invested her own money, time, energy, and effort to save small business. And she helped save the American economy by saving one small business at a time from going out of business.
I love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
And she was a good mom.
Great
mom.
Great mom. Fantastic. Yeah. The best mom. I think that based on our conversation, I'm super grateful that I got to meet you, that you were able to come and share your wisdom and knowledge with the Fuel Your Legacy audience. And I will be going to your website because I need some guidance in that direction right now.
Thank you. Thank you. And we actually have a build to sell funnel that we are starting to put business owners into that will, it's a program that will do evaluation. We'll give them, it's an online training program, but it's also face to face, and it's a build to sell to really strengthen up their business, to get them to operate on the 6 Ps, to plan their exit, and really work with them on that build to sell program over the next 1 to 2 years so they have a sellable asset.
Yeah, that's incredible. Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, and we will catch you guys next time on the Fuel Your Legacy show.
Thank you, Sam. I do have to say, you're probably one of the best interviewers, and I've been on 175 podcasts.
Oh, wow.
So you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I really love it. It's a passion of mine. So this is just for fun.
I've been on some where I'm like, oh my God, it's the worst interview ever. So you're great. I would say you're one of the best.
Awesome. Well, that is a huge compliment and I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me. And if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.